Hey everybody, welcome back to I Know a Guy. I'm Anthony, and this is the podcast where connections thrive. Each episode, we spotlight inspiring entrepreneurs, professionals, and individuals doing amazing things. Together, we'll grow your circle, spark collaborations, and discover new opportunities. Today, we're meeting Ranbir Bhutani, CEO of Cyberculture and a trailblazer in cybersecurity with over 20 years of experience across industries like finance, healthcare, and technology. Ranbir is passionate about driving innovative solutions in cybersecurity, mentoring future leaders, and helping organizations bridge the gap between technology and business objectives. How are you doing today, Ranbir?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Pretty good. I mostly have my voice, so you know what? It is what it is. You can still understand what I'm saying, kind of, if it's close enough. Feel free. But yeah, no, I was excited about our conversation we had the other day. Loved your energy, loved what you're doing. Super excited for more people to meet you because you're a great person to know. So let's see about doing more of that. But to start off, where are you calling in from? Where are you located?
Yeah, no, thank you, and I appreciate meeting you as well. And what you're doing is phenomenal. Um, I am calling out of Northern Virginia. The city is actually called Vienna. So,
Awesome. Are you newer to the area? You've been there forever?
been here since 2019. Born, but hometown is Maryland. I'm a Marylander, born and raised.
I got you. So, Northern Virginia, if you have friends coming into town that have never been there before, where are you taking them? What are you doing? And where are you going to for dinner?
No, that's a great question. There is hundreds of eats around this area, so we're very fortunate and blessed. Any type of meal, any type of cuisine from Asia's to South Asia's, East Asia's, to South America. Again, it's and even American, right? It's interesting where we have that choice of options around this area. So yeah, whatever they're in the mood for, I don't. We'll go. So.
Mhm. So you got the food covered, but like as far as like things to do, what do you do for fun in the area?
Oh, yes, yes, that's a great question. Yeah, no, definitely if they would love to go downtown DC, it's not too far, about 15, 20 minutes, lots of museums there, sightseeing, a lot of touristy areas. Again, nearby us, like not maybe a couple of minutes, there's a big Tyson's Mall, a lot of folks go to, and then, a lot of, again, different stores and restaurants and there's some, some places you can go in the evening for if folks that like to maybe smoke hookah or if they're into that. Again, not crazy stuff around here, but just more casual, laid back. But again, if they want to go to the city, there's probably a lot more to do down there. So,
I got you. Awesome. So what can you tell us about what you do?
oh, absolutely, that's a great question. Definitely, my background is about 20 plus years in cybersecurity. About 4.5 years ago, I started Cyberculture. We're a fractional chief information security officer consulting firm. So ideally, what we do is help organizations understand the importance of keeping not only their data secure, but also educating their employees and just overall get that feeling that, hey, we have a program in place to help us, right? And that is one of our main goals and missions. So.
Okay. How'd you get started doing it? Have you always been in the cybersecurity space, or was there just something along the line that kind of triggered you and said, that's what I'm going to be doing?
That's a great question. Ever since I was, I guess, going back to when I was small, I would always anything electronic or technology related. I would take things apart as a little one, and then as I got older, maybe when I was like 9 or 10, I got my first computer, and then eventually I found a passion for computers, and again, went to school for it, undergrad, and then pursued my passion, of computers, and then eventually landed into cyber security about 20 plus years ago, and just went down that road ever since. So,
I'm always curious when people have that, growing up where they're taking things apart. Did you ever put them back together, or were they just apart?
not so much when I was little, just taking them apart and understanding how the engineering of things works. And then, as I got older, I messed around with some PCs and, did a little put together, like putting memory and things together, that type of nature. So it was nice, got to have that experience and really enjoyed doing it.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, no, growing up, my brother was the same way. He always said there was no remote that was safe. It was going to end up in pieces. So, I'm just curious because it never got put back together. My dad would have to do it. But anyway, so yeah, so you've been in cybersecurity for over 20 years. What do you love about what you're doing?
That's a great question. I really have a knack to help people, right? But especially in my world or in the cybersecurity world, is to understand for organizations or even consumers to understand how not only to protect themselves but also protect their company's assets, their digital assets, their data. I would say it's priceless, right? The moment that someone is trying to steal it or do it for their own gain, for example, and unethical practices, to me, that hits near and dear to my heart because I'm like, okay, well, they didn't know what they didn't know unless someone was there to guide them or even give them some tips on, how to stay safe and secure, especially with all the cyber attacks that are going on. There's scamming that's going on. There's lots of scam companies out there too that you have to watch out for. So, education is key. That's one part of it. Also, building some programs around that, right? And that's the challenge again, going back to being in the cybersecurity industry. Most business owners don't know what they don't know until either they get breached or they experience a cyber attack. And that's of course when they could reach out like firms like us to come and not stop a breach, but at least put preventative measures in place. So
Yeah, that always seemed like the most complicated part of cybersecurity because if it's working right, you don't really think about it,
yeah.
right? So it's when you're having a problem that you realize, oh, okay. So I mean, in your experience, when you're talking to business owners, or is it mostly people reaching out after they've had some sort of a breach or some sort of issue, or is it like a good percentage of them now know this is definitely something that I need to make a priority early on, so I don't have to go through that?
Well, that's a great question now. I'll give you example. There are certain agencies that are pushing out cyber regulations like Federal Trade Commission as of Trade Commission as of last year summer. They pushed out some regulations for car dealers, mortgage broker firms, payday loans to secure their customers' data because it's all sensitive data. So this aligns back to exactly what we do. But the challenge in their world is profit, right? Profit margins, revenue margins, numbers, right? They don't know what they don't know unless, they get fined and then it becomes reactionary, right? The Securities Exchange Commission did a breach reporting requirement for any publicly traded companies, right? There's not a whole ton, I guess over 3,000 plus, but I'd give you a good example. SolarWinds was a big deal. They were monitoring tool to monitor your environments and they got breached. I think I had over 300,000 customers back in 2019. So the idea is that, okay, well, with some of these agencies pushing out these regulations, even Department of Defense is a big one. For government contractors that are on DoD contracts, they have to become CMMC compliance, which again aligns back to a lot of the cybersecurity frameworks, risk management frameworks. So the idea is as these regulations come out and let's say enforced, and then if not, the company organizations doesn't abide by it, they either can lose opportunities or be heavily fined, right? Even in the healthcare sector, HIPAA or the Health Information uh, Act is getting some updates in cyber. So that's in hospitals and healthcare industry. So again, if there's a need or a requirement, then obviously companies would take the action to say, okay, well, we need to reach out to a firm because it's a specialty, right? And the other aspect of it is return. What's our return on investment? Well, your return on investment that get if you get breached, you put all those measures in place, not just technology, but the people, processes, procedures, plans that are in place to make sure they're intact, right? But again, a lot of business owners are like, okay, well, this is an incurred cost. It may cost, may cost a good amount of money. We may not have the budget. It's always in my world. It's like, oh, we don't have budget for that. These are what CISOs actually face. We don't have budget for that. We don't. But then when they get breached, then they either fire the CISO because it's his or her fault. Why? Like you want to give them the budget, so it's just like a catch-22 all. It's fun.
I got you. So, being an entrepreneur yourself and working with a lot of business owners, what is some advice that if you could go back to the start of your entrepreneur journey that you would tell your younger self or just tell people in general that are starting off as entrepreneurs?
Yeah, that's a great question. We all have a dream, and this not just my dream or being in the cybersecurity. We all have a dream, But sometimes because of the fear of unknown or the fear of not having a paycheck or the fear of, let's say, depleting a savings because you decided to pull the trigger and build something from the ground up, from a dream that you had or a vision you had, and bring it into your reality, right? I'd say, okay, well, how are you going to know or experience failure if you don't even try? So let's say you hear probably friends, family, friends, hey, Anthony, I want to start this company and I want to do XYZ. You probably hear this all the time. And you're like, that's great, do it. And then 5 years ago, fast forward, hey, Anthony, I want to start, a similar type of company. Great, do it. And then another five, fast. So it's like been 10 years still working, let's say, for an employer or corporate. And not that I mean, everybody has to do what they have to do. But I'd say, you should never stop dreaming because how do you, and again, this is how a lot of companies got started. I mean, so many companies, big names out there, you hear stories like this, right? They, didn't know how they were going to make it. And yeah, do I go through that? Absolutely. Do you go through? Yeah, everybody goes through it. But the struggle is like not just you, everybody's going through some type of struggle, whether it's financially, whether it's something to do with their health, whether it's emotionally. Again, everybody goes through that struggle, but if you don't follow through with the dream, then you're going to have regrets as you get older in life, saying, okay, I could have done this, I should have done that. I mean, you probably hear stories all the time from many others. I just, again, just keep going. That's why I tell everybody, I just give the words of motivation, and people are going to know people, and they're going to, and you just connect the dots, just like how we got connected, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, people you're going to struggle no matter what. You're going to struggle in your job, in your, in your school, you're going to struggle trying to start your own business. But you get to pick what kind of struggles you're facing, right? If you think it's worth it and you go, yeah, this is something that I want to do, what's going to be, the worst feeling, starting something and failing or never starting and always wondering if, right? So you have options, you're not necessarily going to fail. You're for sure going to fail. Sorry, let me say that again. You're going to fail at some stuff for sure, and you're going to do it a bunch. But failure is just a stepping stone to success. So understanding that and knowing that, yep, there's going to be some stuff that sucks, but I'm going to do it because it's better than the alternative. You get to make that decision, and it's not for everybody. So that's fantastic, fantastic advice. What does your average client look like? What is your avatar? What are some pain points that people might be going through that if they're dealing with XYZ, you're the person that they should be talking to?
That's a great question. I would say from the solopreneur, right? We could help do some consultations and get them to make sure that whatever they're building in the business that they have, that not only they have a cyber program in place, but they also know and understand how to secure their accounts, lock down stuff, and just follow best practices, right? I would say ideally 10 to 200 employees organizations are our sweet spot. Again, the beauty of it, we are very flexible. And I'm not just talking about pricing in terms of working with our clients to making sure that they know and understand the importance of why they need our services, A, and B, to come in and just make them feel at ease so they don't worry about a ransomware tomorrow or an employee clicking on a phishing link is the easiest way to get attacked. And all of a sudden introduce a virus or some type of malware in their networks, not getting technical here, meaning that opens up Pandora's box and a can of worms. The last thing you want to do is have your business in media and then all of a sudden lose your clientele. If you're net under seven figures business and you have a limited cash flow and then you have 100,000, 200,000 ransomware, that can put you out of business, and that's a big deal. And I'm not trying to scare anyone here, but again, we don't, as business owners, you don't have to be technical to understand the importance of protecting your name, your brand, your business, and your data. And I always say data is priceless.
Absolutely. Yeah, and the cyber threats out there are getting more sophisticated. Luckily, we have people on the other side of it combating it that are just as good or better than the, bad folks. So it's something that you have to give attention to, right? Like you said, no matter what size, if you get hit with ransomware, there's a fairly good chance that you're out of business just because You're going to be advised to pay them to get it back. That you might not get it back in general. Your brand's going to take a hit because people are going to look at you wary from then on out, even if you do survive the initial hit. So yeah, it's definitely important. Um,
Absolutely. And one more, not to, one more thing to add. Never pay the ransomware. Never ever pay. And here's why. Because 9 times out of 10, they already have your data and they're either selling it on a dark web, dark world. It's already being sold. And that's the truth. Right. And B, the keys they send you sometimes it's not even the correct key. And even if you get your data back, they already had it. So what's the point of paying a ransom? It's a fear tactic. And some of these some of these ransomwares are not even real. They could just it's a scare tactic. It's like um here's a prime example. Like let's say, Anthony, all of a sudden you get this pop-up for Microsoft support and somebody's like, and this is scary. This people have told me like they're moving their mouse around in your machine, and they basically call you. They don't even tell you that they're Microsoft support, and then they just tell you like they're troubleshooting your machine, like IT support, and that's a scam. So what they're doing is, hey, send me some money, and again, and that's important of protecting and locking down your equipment. And if organizations don't care about it, this is what's happening. And then all of a sudden the business is out a couple $1,000s because of a scam or a technical support scam. And scamming is another whole different topic we could talk about, but I'm just giving you bits and pieces because that's the first thing that they'll do. Their goal is to just scare you, fear-based tactics, tell you, hey, I saw you, they'll send you letters saying, hey, I'm watching you on your machine. I saw you looking at naughty sites, and like that gets to people's emotions and they fall for it. And then all of a sudden they'll use blackmail saying, if you don't send me this much money, I'm gonna release this and they have nothing on you. They're just trying to get their next targeted victim. It's really sad.
yeah, no, there's so much of that out there, and it used to be the joke that the only scam going around was the Nigerian prince one, but they're they're way more sophisticated
Oh,
now.
my brother, that's like years
Yeah, yeah,
like ago.
yeah.
Now the new scams are more sophisticated because adding AI to the mix, and not to get too deep in the woods. So you just have to be vigilant and aware.
Hmm.
And phone an IT friend or family member, because I guarantee everybody has somebody that's in IT or somebody that's in cyber in the family. Because it could be a cousin, could be a second cousin, could be an uncle, aunt, maybe their kid. It this is at least 90% of the time somebody in the family is in IT. Just
Hmm.
ask the question. Just you never know. They'll be like, no, 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 don't fall for that. Or IRS call scams are always going on. Now the big thing is Medicare and Medicaid. So what they do now, they'll call you using AI voice, right? A lot of people can't distinguish. I can, I'm sure you can, but not everybody can. And they're like, hey, do you have part A and part B? You say yes. So they'll transfer you to a call center. And I'm not trying to call this country out, but it's somewhere in the Asias. That's all I'm saying. And they have learned and trained themselves to change their accents to sound like us. And hey, this is John Smith. You're not John Smith. They're just trying to get money out of you. And it comes from a number like that's from here. So they use their tools, and it's not that sophisticated really. It's just be vigilant, and they're getting folks that are on those plans and they're out 100, $200. What if that was their money they had for the rest of the month?
Hmm.
I mean, and especially if you're living off of like Social Security and having those type of benefits, and you're on very limited income. It just melts my heart, and that's another reason why this feels like I genuinely want to help people wherever I can. I'm not looking to make a quick buck or get anything out of it. I just want to educate so people understand the importance of things that you must look out for.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. How about power partners? What are other industries or other professionals that you found, collaboration or potential collaborations with?
that's a great question. Managed service providers, outsource IT services, same difference. So naturally, they work with a lot of their clients. Um, they have a lot of cybersecurity technologies that they use, but in addition to partnering with us, we could provide the virtual CISO consulting to actually come and help build the program. So it has been a lot of success for us because, again, it's just a little easier because it's like business to business to client. If you if you that makes sense, and where we can partner with them and become power partners, because and again, you share some of the revenue and however you want to do it. It's just it works. It works a charm because everybody wins. If that makes sense.
Yeah, those are the best kind of relationships when everybody has their defined role, their purpose, and everybody wins by doing it because you can't
Absolutely.
be good at everything. So having people in neighboring slices of that pie that you're able to refer back and forth to because they're able to promote you when something's good for you and you can do the same and it's mutually beneficial.
Absolutely. So I have some clients needing their services. Just it's a quick referral back through, anyways.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's the whole idea behind I know a guy, right? Is hey, I can't help you, but Ranbir can, right? So,
Well,
um,
well, that goes back to what you're doing. I know a guy, right? Like it's beautiful. I can introduce you to literally anyone that's a business owner, and it's just the warmest introduction ever, right? And whether it works or it doesn't, I'm assuming 90% of the time it's working because who wouldn't want to be on your amazing podcast? Just saying.
I appreciate that. But
Of
uh,
course.
what would you say are the biggest cybersecurity challenges businesses are facing today?
Well, yeah, no, that's a great question. Number one, budget. It's always a concern. Number two, any business from solopreneur to 1,000+ employees are vulnerable, like to these attacks because they target everywhere. They sit here in the US, they sit everywhere. They work as cyber criminals work together. It's interesting in their world, they collaborate because everybody gains. In our world, it's like competition. Like no, nobody gains. You have to work together in order to join forces in stopping, I guess, good versus evil, right? Because in cyber, it should always have been a shared community. But the challenge is because there's hundreds and thousands of different companies that offer, let's say, products or services or consulting, not trying to work together. And it doesn't make any sense to me. But again, if you're on the ethical side, you would think. But it's starting to happen slowly, and I've noticed folks or business owners are more than willing to collaborate. But again, it just comes down to business owners, investors, and if they're willing to open up a little bit. And that's also another thing to add in the corporate world, for example. CISOs are always hired full time. Well, they're not really needed full time, honestly, right? They can come in, build the program, and then maybe go at as needed basis, which works out in the company's favor because not only do it, they leave a lot of the overhead costs, right? Because versus let's say a W-2 employee, but they also get somebody of like a veteran experience, a really strong background, maybe aligned to my background, for example, and you're getting the best of the best, is what I'm saying, and hopefully, corporate companies are starting to see the fractional world. I don't know if you notice it starting to uptick a bit too, not just in the cyber world, but CTOs or even CEOs, like some fractional CEOs. So
How does cyber culture help organizations align cybersecurity with their business goals?
absolutely. So cyber culture, our mission is to change the culture of cybersecurity forever. And really what we come in and we conduct a risk assessment to identify any gaps and weaknesses in your organization and improve your overall posture. That's really what our focus is, right? And again, it's just not policies, plans, and procedures, but also getting the training and education that organizations need so they understand purpose, right? Ideally, we're telling our story and we're explaining the story as if you know nothing about the field, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we help you, we help make you cyber happy. Because there's nothing to fear if you don't know the unknown. Just like the question you asked about inspiring entrepreneurs or somebody looking to get in the field. I don't know about you, but I believe I have guided lots of those to pull the trigger and start something and maybe give them some guidance. And hey, if I never hear from them, that's all good. I mean, I did my piece and trying to help anyone. And, again, I don't capitalize off that. It's just I don't feel right about it, but I feel like, we all have to stick together, work together, and again, and especially going back to cyber, the most important piece is, be vigilant, put your protections and mechanisms, preventative measures in place. And I'm not saying that it's a guarantee to not experience a breach, but at least versus not having anything in place. And cyber insurance doesn't protect your organization. Yes, there's some companies that do believe that genuinely.
Yeah,
That's what
no,
cyber that.
there's a lot there, and we could go into detail for hours about any of these topics. But is there anything, that we missed that you wanted to add?
No, again, I don't want to deep dive because sometimes it gets you to a place where it may not make a whole lot of sense to others that are not familiar with the industry. So I'd rather say, just protect yourself first, right? And that's bottom line, right? And again, uh, we could go for hours and sort of not sidetrack, but it becomes like an extension or a part of a spider web to say, okay, well, we could talk about, let's say we talked a bit about scamming. I can go very, very deep if you want, or we could talk about, penetration testing or making sure the organization has protections in place if someone's trying to take over their site or hack their website, for example. So
For people that would like to go a little bit deeper than this, or maybe would like to see where they might be vulnerable in their business, how can they find you? Where can they get a hold of you?
absolutely, I am on LinkedIn under Ranbir B. If you search for me, you'll see handsome fellow. No, I'm just kidding. You'll see a picture of me. It's there. Little dated, need to update it. But alignable. If you search for cyber culture, feel free to connect with me on there. If you want to email me directly, it's my name, Ranbir at cyberculturellc.com. And that's many ways to reach me if they wanted to reach out and had some interest or even wanted some guidance. It doesn't cost anything.
Perfect. If anybody would like to get in touch with Ranbir, absolutely do it. You're going to learn a bunch. I'm going to tell you that right now. And you owe it to yourself and your business to not wait until something happens to start worrying about security. Look now, see where you might have some vulnerabilities and see what options you might have to fix them. Because that's the thing is you don't have you're never you don't want to be the easy target, right? You want to you want to make sure that you put up some walls saying, hey, you know what, my business is protected, and you definitely want to work with a professional like Runbeer to do that. So absolutely reach out to them. I'm gonna put everything in the description, make it super easy. Click on it and go. Other than that, if you'd like to get a hold of me, you can find me at ikag.me. You can find more episodes, subscribe to our newsletter, connect with awesome people like Runbeer in our growing community. If you or somebody you know would like to be interviewed, you can also apply on the website. But Ranbir, I really appreciate you taking the time. I know, like I said, we could go into detail about all this stuff, and people need to. We need to start taking this a little bit more serious because it's getting more serious, right? Like I said earlier, there's the trope of the Nigerian prince. That's not it anymore. So take it serious, have that conversation. But let's all go out, have an awesome day, and grow our circles. All right.